I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I made that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with Dizzy. I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang, taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that should change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. But fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
Attention, please. Please do not smoke in the terminal building. Smoking is only permitted in the
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Let's go. I make them hot. I make them shiver. These get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. That might flip those. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody to another edition of Late Night Counter Apologetics. I am your host with the most from the East Coast, and as always, even back for show number 3 of the day. I am in airplane mode. All right, folks, so happy to be back with you. Got an interesting sort of impromptu episode lined up for you today, so we'll see how that goes. Before we get into it, let's go ahead and get into our communion.
Told me they want me to do.
Nobody wants to hear from Joe Biden right now. The gang is linked up with me in Gather. We are at the Pinochle Lounge in the Ranch. So if you want to join us, that's the way to do so. Apparently, I just can't stop hitting this video, which we're not even watching. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and get into our communion before we get into tonight's program. Y'all already know the drill. If you don't, act like you do. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. I got AR bottle popper with me.
Hell yeah.
All right, folks, and this one is our communion song. This time we're switching it up a little bit. This one comes to us with the full band. It comes to us from the Brummies. It's the Cheers theme song.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see your troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
All right, YouTube Punk is first. Appreciate you, YouTube Punk. 10,000 pocket change. Let's go ahead and throw that OG Roddy on.
Whoa. Is that? Hey, what up? They know my campaign. Now they running up on Roddy like it's second place. They wanna know if I'm a prop or I'm the real plane. Landed in Austin and I even brought my own strain. Gang, yeah, fuck is they talking about? Link up with Freddie, got it booming cause it's Mo South. Then we hit the spot, my OG had it packed out. Getting love in every city, what it's all about.
Cameron Bennett,
Facts.
third.
Yeah, knowing I'm back home. At the blueprint eating chicken with some bad Johns. And they bad, but not like the one that's at home. And she bad, but not like them kids we have, Lord. Yeah. I'm still up in my mode. Hit my connect, he make the close. I run the give and go. Just ask the ones who fucking with me if you didn't know. They say
Everybody
the
over
always
cheese
on it
once
and
in a
he
while.
always gone. I love you. I want to. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore. But I love you. I need you. What can I do
let's
to
finish
make
this
you
off.
see?
Cheers, gang.
You're the only one for me. I told Jay I'ma just stick to the code. He wished me well and told me how he been noticing growth. Told all my niggas down on Serato, let's get this dough. Figure of speech, I'm just saying my niggas gotta glow. Yeah, I thought I changed up, but in fact I just got better at the same stuff. Even when I was a minor, I was major. Independent, I remember how they played us. Yeah, you see it's funny though. See how everything changed, getting money, bro. Seen them even throwing shade when it's sunny though. On the plane, I ain't even in a lane though. Yeah, but I still be on the road. Head to toe on all my merch, I'm smoking at the shit. And they booking Henny too, I gotta bring my bro. Wonder if and when I stop, I tell them never know. I love you, I want you. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore, but I love you. I need you. What can I do to make you see? You're the only one for me. I love you, I miss you. I need you in my life. Can't you see what you mean to me? Baby, come hold me tight.
All right. Let's get into it. So look, I'm gonna set this up real proper. Like I'm gonna just tell y'all exactly what happened. So
That's not what you intended.
So sorry, I played that. I was like, who the hell is that? That's not what you intended. I was like, who the fuck? I thought somebody was trying to sneak up on me and gather. But look, here's what happened. I caught like the end of James's stream earlier, and he had JG on. Now, I've heard this name JG once or twice before, but didn't really know anything about this person. I've never really seen them on any streams, you know, that come to mind. Never really, if they have, I haven't paid any attention to them. And I really couldn't tell you who they are, what they believe. Before today, I wouldn't even known if they were, you know, what side, how they come down on these issues. I didn't really know anything about this person. But I tuned into the tail end of the conversation with James, you know, probably maybe, I don't know how long it was, last half hour, 40 minutes or so maybe, while I was getting ready to go live today. And off rip, the conversation with JG just bothered me. Like, there seemed to be a lot of sort of metaphysical word salad involved. And at the same time, I felt like they were using it all to undermine James's positions rather than really acknowledge what he was saying. And it hit me as such a fundamentally dishonest way of representing things. Like, basically trying to argue something like if James admits that scientists don't know everything, then you know, he's admitting that he's taking it on faith and all this type of shit. And James trying to be like,
Sometimes
yeah, bro, he was trying to make he was trying to make the objective world and the narrative world touch a little bit too much for me. And he kept misrepresenting naturalism, if you will, or the empirical worldview. He basically kept insisting that there was an element of faith involved here, or James was somehow just kind of taking the story because this is what the experts say, and one, it was off base with regard to James basically just kind of conceding to the uncertainties in our current understanding, and also just off base in terms of like, you clearly don't get it then. Like you either deliberately and wantonly misrepresenting these perspectives, or you're a fucking dumbass. Like, and it really struck me as it kind of messed up, where then the burden got flipped to where it's like James was just trying to get along, have a conversation or whatever, but now it's like, I don't know. It's like a person's basically demanding that you treat them as though they're acting in good faith, which it really seems like they're not. Like they totally understand and comprehend everything you're saying, which it absolutely seems like they don't. And then you have to like make them feel smart, when basically they showed up, as far as I could probably tell, that these conversations in some sense take place with the explicit goal of undermining another person's worldview. And, this whole flavor of the year, I guess, and I think it's just, seasons change and tactics change, and people, certain tactics get a little stale after a while, and they try to switch it up. But it seems like lately, with Brett Keane and Richard Madsen and Rebecca over the sort of longer arc, like this is the problem in this community, where these people basically want to become frenemies. We fundamentally disagree about some very important shit to us, and in some sense, our channels exist to take one stance, and their channels exist to take another stance. Yet now they done roll up in my house, and we have to bend over backwards to make them feel like, oh, you know what, all along you guys are the good guys. You know what, yeah, you guys, you're real smart. You know what, you guys got it all figured out. And we just got a little bit of a misunderstanding here about some things, but now that I'm kind of hearing you out, man, you guys are just totally fucking reasonable. And it's like, no. So that kind of hit me funny. But I can't really run back the tape for y'all, because James has gotten into this thing now that I didn't even realize he was still doing, of making his streams private. So I've been kind of assuming all day I could run that back and break down that portion of the stream. But, James set it to private. So, which I think is kind of unfortunate, because it's like James is doing all these killer shows, and then it's like only the people who are there live get to really see him, And a lot of times I'm realizing now, like a lot of times when I'm catching James's stream, a lot of times I'm not there to catch it right from the beginning, but now I'm realizing a lot of these days he's done 2 or 3 streams in a day. And, I might only catch, say, the second half of the last one. So I feel like I'm missing a lot of James's content, unfortunately. Everybody does their channel their own way. But, I feel like, man, James is putting on these killer shows, man. You got to leave it up there, because, you're part of this community now. So, your stream is now a place where shit goes down and shit happens. and we losing tape, James. We losing some tape we fucking need out here, James. When shit goes down on the James Apperson channel, we gotta be able to break down the fucking game tape, James. But it's all love. So we went digging a little bit, and we found an older conversation on JG's channel, which is apparently called, certainty exists or something like that. You know, again, certainty exists. Yeah, you could tell off rip it's on some metaphysical bullshit, right? Certainty exists. Like just gotta. They always why they gotta press that button. It really it's something about these personalities. But yeah, so we found this old tape where apparently it's JG, Richard Madsen, and Peter W. having a conversation with James Apperson. And the whole thing is, what do you put your faith in? So we don't know. I haven't seen this tape. We're going to watch it together, and I'm going to respond to it. AR, help me find this and get us a decent starting point here where I think the four people I mentioned, James, JG, Peter, and Richard Madsen, are about to get onto the call together. But yeah, I think it's interesting because I have a problem with all three of these personalities. I have a big problem with the conversation I heard earlier with JG. Not that like it was just kind of whatever. Like I said, I never really had any interaction with him, but I could tell off that conversation. I was like, nope, this dude and me, we would not be on the same page, and I'm not vibing with this dude. Richard Madsen, a lot of y'all know I've had my falling outs with because I think Richard Madsen is just kind of absurd. He just has a really absurd worldview that, quite frankly, is very arrogant. Like, I just think this dude just thinks he's literally smarter than fucking everybody on the planet. His shit's like real delusional to me. And he does the whole peace and respect thing, and I feel like he gets away with a lot of bad behavior. Certainly pseudo-intellectual nonsense and anti-science rhetoric, but beyond that, I think he uses like a Gandhi, he uses that whole peace and respect demeanor to cover up for the fact that he has a lot of antisocial behavior. And even if you look at his channel and who the mods in his channel are and how he moderates, or let's say doesn't moderate at all his channel, I think he deliberately cultivates a kind of cesspool over there where bad actors feel even freer to act poorly than they do elsewhere. And Peter W. is somebody who I think is just, at the end of the day, real two-faced. And I think, I get what we tried to do with Peter W., but Peter W. is another person who I feel like is taking advantage of us. We've tried to be an opening community. We've tried to get to know people, but Peter W. really mistreats us, either when he sees us on different channels or if there's other Christians in our channels talking shit. He's like somebody who really wants to bully us but isn't strong enough to on his own. So like James said, he needs to hide behind a bigger bully. But then he's constantly in our streams every day playing like it's all good. Like, you could disrespect me one day and then, come to my ice cream party the next. And I'm not really with that. Now, some of y'all on my side of the fence may be like, you may be cool to just like, some of y'all just apparently seem to want to be friends with everybody. I got to be honest with y'all. Like, some of y'all, I think, just don't have any standards. Like, it just seems like if somebody smiles at you, then boom, they have to be your friend. Boom, what? Did they smile at you and say hello? Oh, did they say good morning? Oh, fuck. Well, sign them up. Let's be friends. And I'm not with that. I've never been with that. I've always been the type that I might be cool with everybody, but I ain't really cool with everybody. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to start no shit. I'm not trying to, wake up every morning and create drama and conflict, but I'm going to focus on my friends, and I know who my friends and family are, and I'm gonna invest real hard in those relationships, but I'm going to tell the rest of y'all to kick rocks at the end of the day. And I'm not friends with everybody. I'm not inviting everybody to come roll with me and the crew at the end of the day. And, Peter W. is a person I'm just quite sick of, because you act that two-faced to me, then we're just not friends. And I think if people want the benefit of being in our community and, dealing with people the way we deal with people, then they should have to meet the standards of our community. And that's what's really starting to upset me overall, is that most of the people I see us interacting with, especially particularly the people we interact with that we disagree with, they don't meet the standard. They really don't. They don't be meeting the standard. Like, they don't treat us well. They don't even really be listening to us genuinely in these conversations. They really don't reflect, like they misrepresent every concept we say. They don't really seem to be able to genuinely reflect our philosophical or scientific positions without deliberately misconstruing our words and shit like that. Like, they really don't. They're not that smart. Like, when we go on and on about, oh my God, did you see Derek's stream today? Derek was brilliant. Derek had Dr. So-and-so on today. And oh my God, their scholarship was so wonderful. And Derek was asking these amazing questions and the chat was on fire and people were asking these amazing fucking super chats. Do y'all know what the fuck we're saying? We're like, yo, that stream was fucking excellent. Yo, the bar was way the fuck up here. And them motherfuckers met it. Like, Derek is a great host and he be having on great guests. Like, we're really saying that shit was excellent, right? And then we had these dog shit apologists come on our channel that basically want to get away with saying science is a religion and atheists buy into dogma based on faith and all of this type of shit. And then they're like, hi, and they call us by the first name we asked to be called by. And we're like, oh my God, you're so nice, you're so wonderful, we could be friends. Oh, I would love to pal around with you. And I'm like, no, like, it's not fair. It's making what we say over here to the people that we really, really mean it about, is making it mean so much less, because we're also heaping praise over here onto this dog doo-doo, right? And from now on, to me anyway, my opinion is we got to just be like, yo, this is dog shit. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not trying to be mean, but this is not good. Like, y'all don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or y'all are not treating us well, or I don't allow my friends to be two-faced like this, like, whatever it is. But I'm tired of lowering the bar just so we could say we're building a bridge to the other side. Like, why? I don't want to build the bridge to the other side if that's not good for us, right? Think about it. We're supposed to build a bridge to the other side because they got something we want over there, right? We're supposed to have something they want, let's say liberation from dogma, acceptance of human values, skepticism, some shit we'd love to share with them, right? And then they supposed to have some shit we really want, really great community building, really great support of one another on an interpersonal level, really great ability to organize, and, a real passionate pursuit of their values, right? And we're supposed to say, like, yo, we got some shit y'all want, y'all got some shit we want, let's meet up, let's trade, let's exchange, right? Why the fuck are we building a bridge over there if they're living in fucking squalor? Like, why are we building a bridge over there if we sitting up on a house on a hill with a motherfucking castle and they sitting there living in amongst the fucking swine, treating each other like shit? I don't want to build a bridge to them. Let them stay over there and live in squalor amongst themselves, right? If they want to build and do trade with us, they got to meet the fucking bar. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to get into, and we're gonna look into this conversation and see how I feel about this conversation.
No.
I think James Apperson is going to come into your stream.
James.
What's up, Assembly of God?
Humbergson, he has a different name.
I said Apperson. Perhaps my mic cut out.
No, it is Apperson, and then he's in the back room. It's Humbergerson.
Oh, I misunderstood. Make him touch his left nose to his right eyebrow or something.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
How's it going, James?
So it was left over. I named myself James Humbug.
Not James, Wayne, there's something fundamentally wrong with the way philosophy is used in these conversations. And it does at some point need to be addressed, because it's not it's used to me, even from just like a fly on the wall perspective. It's used in a way that's very obfuscating. It's used as a tool to go hunting for gray areas, to go looking for obfuscations, to go blurring the lines rather than bringing about some sort of clarity. It's almost used as a tool to confuse and distract rather than to help people understand. And so I like to just summarize that by saying it's weaponized, right? It's being used for harm rather than for good. And there is a way that it's allowing people who really don't have merit, intellectually, interpersonally, what they bring to the table, academically, none of it, to kind of sit around and feel like because they think really hard on, sort of less than practical ideas as presented to them in YouTube videos, that they've now taken their place amongst the intelligentsia of the world, and from that place can now reflect on from on high about what's really going on. And it's borderlines on delusions of grandeur, and I'm sure in many cases it's just outright consistent with it.
Apperson as a Christmas theme the other day on my own channel and forgot to change it back.
Okay.
So I have a couple quick questions for Richard, if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
First, I want to answer you, if that's okay.
Exactly, Wayne.
Sure.
They need the gray area.
If I'm reading these stories right, what angels are is ancient Homo sapiens sapien traveling the galaxies. And to me, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, stupid or energy. I didn't know about that, but yeah, that's actually really tragic. And I'm all about normalizing sex work. That's not what today's stream is about, but maybe another one should be.
Now, that's not what Christians say about it. I know.
Sure.
So you said I'd never heard of a heaven that sounds, I don't know, interesting or likable.
Yeah.
How does traveling the universe with great technology, interacting with other species, terraforming planets, stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe you're not into that sort of thing. It sounds pretty cool to me.
All right, off rip. I'm just going to go ahead and just lay it on now for y'all. And again, y'all got to understand something, and I want to be completely unambiguous about this. I love James Apperson, and, I see this sort of like Gustick Gibbon saw the video that she made about me, the way she saw my interaction with LPP in his panel, where it was me and like three creationists, and she immediately got the vibe that it was sort of me against the three of them. So no matter how this conversation plays out, I see it as James Apperson versus whoever the fuck else is on the panel, and you can pretty much, I probably won't have too much to say about James, other than the way I feel probably people take advantage of him. But, like, I see this as pretty much James versus whoever else he's going to be interacting with. And, unless I say otherwise, which I'm sure I probably won't, I'm on James's side. So let's just get that out the way. And also, like, James and I approach things differently. Like, we have very different interests, very different backgrounds, and we ultimately care about different things and approach things differently. So, wherever we diverge, that's all it is. It's the difference in my approach versus his, my priorities versus his priorities. I'm not here to actually take down James Apperson. If anything, what frustrated me and motivated me was, out of support for James Apperson, I was frustrated with with that feeling like I'm observing him dealing with bad faith actors. But you know, James has his own way of dealing with it, and I do think he sees it. So I don't think I don't think people are getting over on him or like playing him. There are other people in our community who I do sometimes feel like people are getting over on, or they're sort of stumbling blindly in a situation. I think James sees everything kind of going on the way I would. He just will handle it differently based on, you know, a different vibe or different set of priorities. But anyway, off rip, the thing I don't like about, one of the things I can't stand about Richard Madsen is that he never lets people have the conversation in, you know, normal land, right? Like, you know, James will be saying something, or I'm sure I've said the same thing, like where you'll say something like, I've never heard any version of heaven that I really like. And everybody knows that you're really probably talking within the traditional Abrahamic or Christian, in our case, notion of heaven or whatever it might be. And, you know, sort of what you understand or have been exposed to with regard to interpretations thereof, you know, and again, just kind of like we've been saying about the philosophical bullshit, rather than have a productive conversation about, okay, you know, within the range of those, you know, that common understanding of heaven and people's particular narratives of heaven, less than, you know, take this conversation somewhere. No. Richard Madsen has to pull up on you with his totally ad hoc, totally weird, totally off the fucking wall version of heaven that nobody is talking about. And he knows this. And the only words that can come to my mouth right now are incredibly selfish. It reminds me of McNulty in The Wire. I love The Wire. We just watched the first season of The Wire as a crew and gather during the overnights. And y'all know Jimmy McNulty, the lead character. Without giving too much away, there's like this kind of theme throughout the show that so much of what's going on in the show is really driven by McNulty's ego. Like it's really all about him rather than the bigger picture. And quite frankly, in the case of McNulty, I don't know if that's fair, but I'll let you be the judge of that when you watch The Wire. But nevertheless, that's the accusation, and I feel like that's what Richard Madsen does. Like, you know, you can be having any conversation about religion or philosophy or theology, and if Richard Madsen is in the audience, you're always under threat of Richard Madsen wanting to call in. He can't resist a call in. Like, he can't ever say, oh, okay, you know, it's almost like a lot of times, you know, there's Muslims listening to our shows and you know, Jewish people listening to our shows, and they probably think, you know, if they have like an open theist discussion today, I'll call in. Or if they start talking about Islam today, I'm going to go ahead and maybe get my shit in the mix. But since they're always having these conversations about Christianity, and I'm not really a Christian like that, or I don't identify as a Christian, or I didn't grow up with that kind of worldview, I'm just going to sit this one out, right? Because we're not talking about their shit. And I don't think people really call out Richard Madsen's selfishness in this regard. Like, the fact that he's always calling in and hijacking these discussions and these panel shows, and it's really always to talk about this narrative that he already knows nobody is talking about. Like, he knows that's not what we were talking about. Number two, he knows nobody really buys his bullshit. And he knows, number three, nobody really wants to be talking about his bullshit. And he knows this, y'all. He fucking knows it. He fucking knows it. And I'm so sick of acting like he doesn't know it. Sorry, I didn't change over here to the thing. But it's like, it really kind of bugs me that we don't like have a way of like calling this out or confronting this and being like, yo, like, not today, Richard Madsen. It's not about you. Everything isn't about you in fucking space, Jesus. So rather than us having this meaningful conversation, we got to sit here and listen to Richard Madsen come up with some totally weird sci-fi fan fiction of version of heaven that, again, was not the topic of conversation, so that he can then use it as a straw man to be like, oh, well, you don't want this cool, super cool fantasy I just cooked up?
Sure, that sounds fun. I mean, that sounds
sure,
more
that
like Star
sounds
Trek
fun.
to me,
Exactly,
but,
sounds
yeah,
more
I mean,
like
I
Star
the
Trek.
general
Like, what
idea
else
of
are you
those
supposed to
things. I
say?
just
Like,
would want certain reassurances, like
Right.
You know, a limit to
pick
how
me
much suffering I
behavior.
can
Yeah,
experience.
YouTube punk.
A limit to how much suffering I can accidentally cause other people to experience.
Sounds about right.
And I'd want to know that if I ever got tired of it all, that I'd be allowed
Yeah.
to
Also,
opt
guys,
out.
like up the video. Appreciate that for sure. We definitely gotta smash that like button. I need to remind people more about that. And yeah, I hope me reviewing these streams is good for you guys. It's good for me to get my thoughts out, especially because I'm often, I'm just chilling in the chat, and so I have more to say, but I'm not on the show or whatever like that. Or it's more than I feel like I got out in my chat comments. But yeah, I want that to be constructive for us, and I think y'all should definitely respect James's piece. Like I said, I'm just disappointed because I love his streams, and believe it or not, I listen to them a lot. If we don't have material or whatever's on, I always catch up with James Madsen streams, and if I'm doing stuff around the house or I go take errands or stuff, I always listen to his streams, either usually him or Uncle Bobby, to be honest with you. So I'm just being selfish, that I can't review James's content that I miss. But, I'm always encouraging James to keep going. So however he wants to do his channel, I fully support. I'm just totally being a self-interested fan in that regard.
And then poof out of existence if I wanted to.
I can give you some metrics that I do find are there, although some of the things you're asking me I can't answer.
Sure.
Michael and his angels
James
fight
needs to learn
against
to meditate.
Satan and his angels. And
What'd you say, Lena?
I think James could really benefit from meditation. Is maybe a better way to frame it.
Oh, I don't know. I was referring to the fact that he takes down his streams because he wants to keep them private after they go.
Oh yeah, no, that too for sure.
Yeah.
But, I was just thinking about some of.
But I don't know. I think he had a
Some-
conversation recently with somebody about meditation, so I'm not sure.
when that story is told in a different, colorful way in a lot of detail, Michael loses 4,000 of his guys. So there is a way to kill an angel. Okay? When I consider the promises being that we'll have
How
flesh,
did we get to angel
but
killing?
that flesh will be
Oh my goodness.
vivified, perfected, essentially genetically freed. Well, we'd be a hell of a lot tougher than we are right now. It'd be harder to kill us.
Genetically freed.
And we'd have, what do they call it, negligible aging. I can't think of the right word right now, but
Oh, right, because again, y'all, I had to remind myself, I'm like, why would we have, super tough whatever if we're in heaven? Because again, nope, it's Richard Madsen's twisted vision, y'all, which Richard Madsen doesn't believe in anything supernatural, quote unquote, although he does believe in angels and all this other shit. So then it's his rights, and then it's an intergalactic Star Trek heaven, but it's natural. Which then again, it's not fucking heaven, because that's not what the fuck we mean when we say heaven. This is why this is so frustrating, Lena. And like, how much time do you have to waste listening to this shit before you get to go, Richard Madsen's not what we're talking about? Bye. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's just not the Christian that we're trying to fight against. And so, like, even if I weren't going to push back against it, it's just tangential to what we want to discuss. I had a conversation with him. I wouldn't mind talking to him again, but I also wouldn't mind him not being on your stream anymore.
Yeah, and my thing is, I'm now, and again, I he'll probably leave me alone, to be honest with you, but I'm realizing, I'm trying to make commentary about things I see going on in the community, right? And I kind of saw this with like Brett Keane, where I noticed, he's kind of doing a bunch of us the same way, and Richard Madsen does this a lot, and I just feel it's very it's obstructive. It's really weird. But Lena, speaking of the Christians we are trying to work against, let's talk a little bit. You went to church today for the first time in
That's where I sit with it.
a long time, right?
I did. Yeah, it was quite disturbing.
Yeah. And so you said briefly you want to say a little bit more, you were saying about the child indoctrination?
Well, so, I mean, there's a number of things that the pastor said that I guess they just rubbed me wrong, but
right.
Their focus on having the youth be involved in spreading Christianity in every facet of their life. I mean, that was literally what he said. He wants them to be evangelizing, and he rattled off, at school, at swim practice, at your friend's house, wherever. I think that's insidious. I think that having everyone clap to that is super unsettling. I had to walk out. I was kind of livid at it. And probably a lot of Christians hearing this don't even realize, what's so gross about that.
Right.
But it's really evangelism. That, I mean, nothing that was said was relevant to any of the parts that we would object to. He did read from Matthew and just talk about how the disciples dropped their. Actually, no, it was problematic. It's like turning against your family, follow Jesus, right? This like.
Oh, turning against your family and everybody to
this devotion is really toxic.
It really is, and I think that there is, at least I felt like...
Yeah, everything about what they talked about was just super evangelism focused. They called it love, a lot of their outreach programs. We've talked before about how Christians love poverty and hate the poor, but...
Right.
They spend a lot of time asking for donations and stuff, so... Just typical non-denominational. It was exactly what I guessed. The music was... everything I've been listening to my whole life. So just more of that nonsense.
Yep. So the thing that I kind of feel privileged about playing music in a band and a worship team is being there, because I do think, at least from my perspective, a lot of what I hear on the internet, when I hear, I hate to say it, but atheists sort of being accommodating to Christianity, sometimes I think of it as, okay, you're maybe a little bit further away from your Christian phase, like you've been an atheist longer and you're just, they would say, oh, I'm over it, I'm kind of chilled out or whatever, like you're over your angry atheist phase. But that's fine. What's not fine is, I think a lot of times it's not just distance from when you were a believer, but it's a distance from how belief is actually practiced. And I don't think we talk about it as an angry atheist phase if atheists still had to go to church. Right? Because if atheists still had to go to church, like you went to church today, you realize it isn't a phase. You're like, this is how they act every Sunday. And if you would just go to church with Lena next Sunday, you would leave. I don't care if you've been deconverted for 20 years. You go to the church with Lena next Sunday, you're going to walk out triggered like a motherfucker, right? And it's going to be, oh, what happened? I thought it was all good now. I thought you was over your rage stage, right? But it's because it's not just time from when you were a believer. It's because you haven't sat in a pew in a really long time. And you kind of forget how intense and how problematic these messages really are, right? I think the other thing it does, and Lena could probably mention this too, is you realize you're not on YouTube. So you're not watching some extreme apologist, and they're
Sure,
clearly.
and I mean it comes.
So I was just gonna add, and they're
Ultimately, I think too.
no, go ahead. There's a delay. Go ahead. Oh, Lena's connection dropped to red. I don't know if they dropped out. But yeah, Lena, I was just gonna say like the. Oh, let me see if they popped
Yeah,
out.
Lena lagged out.
Lena lagged out. All right, I'll wait till Lena pops back in. But I'll go ahead and roll tape for now. Although that's that was a good conversation. I'm glad that Lena
Essentially
shared that.
not aging. But that
All right,
doesn't
back
mean
to
you
Star
couldn't
Trek
kill an angel.
Heaven.
But when you consider that the promise is to restore our ancestry from this earth, well, then they could be restored, which is apparently, if you think about that those basics, what you got in Michael and his warriors is, it's, what is that? It's Norse mythology in a nutshell. It's the promise of the Norse warrior. That's what that is. That they, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die and do it again.
Well, that sounds interesting. So, I'll humor the proposition that this future exists. Now, what do I have to do in order to get into that future?
Oh, just don't go crazy. And
all right, so quickly, just because I'm not sure if Lena will pop right back in before I forget. The one thing I wanted to mention about Lena's back. Great. I think. Lena, can you hear me? I think they pop back in. Maybe still can't hear though. But hopefully Lena can hear me. Oh, I think they can. They just lit up for a second. Lena, I can't hear you for some reason, although your avatar is lighting up. You see that, AR?
Not seeing any signal.
Okay. So one thing I just wanted to say quickly, and I'll mention again if Lena pops back in, is just that when you're on YouTube, for the most part, you're watching an apologist, and I think a lot of them are very clearly like off. Like either they're pseudo-intellectual or whatever. And a lot of times it's also very clear that their chat is like, let's just say super weird. One of the things that's really chilling when you go to a church, especially your average American sort of non-denominational church, is how hyper normalized, for instance, the pastor is. The pastor isn't some weirdo on YouTube. It's like usually some attractive guy with a beautiful wife and, really, handsome kids and all of that. And they're treated like, oh no, they're totally, totally integrated into the fabric of society. They are the wholesome fabric of society. They epitomize it, right? And then all the people around you are not like weirdo keyboard warriors on YouTube. They're like normal ass looking people who, Lena works a few doors down from this particular church. So they're just like, and many of them will be the people that, shop at the place where Lena serves. So, I think it kind of jolts you out of the YouTube bubble and you realize how ubiquitous these problematic ideas and practices are. That it's not weirdos doing this. It's core, regular, everyday Christianity being done by core, regular, everyday Christians, and that, quite frankly, is quite scary.
start rejecting reality as you perceive it?
Thanks, Lena.
Well, I mean, here's the problem for me is when I hear religious people come up to me and give me their pitch, what I'm hearing is I need to reject reality as I perceive it. And then
that's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's look at the actual claims in the Bible of what Jesus says of himself. He says he is the truth, the way, and the light. And Christians will say, well, that means I've got the correct religion and I go to heaven and you suck ass. That's what that means, right? But that's not what it's really saying. What it's really saying is that you can't follow a path without it being lightened. It needs to be shown you. Hey, kid, the path's over there. Walk on that, right? And then if you choose the wrong path, you're not going to get where you want to go because paths are like that.
All right, let me be very clear about this, y'all. Richard Madsen is wrong about this. Just patently wrong. Yeah, I know Wayne paused. But literally, no, it means the first thing. It means Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and if you don't go with him, you suck ass, and you're going to be cast into the valley of Gehenna. He twisting it all out of shape, and no, the plain reading is the right one. It means exactly what it says. Go ahead, Wayne. Because I know Wayne working, Wayne getting that track working.
Yeah. No, I called I was mid-race. Right. I'm trying to get these corners. But anyway, hold on 1 second. I can hear myself. Okay, there we go. Man, this motherfucker, I called him out immediately as well when he started this, Madsen. He has no interest in like trying to figure out what is true. He just only wants to permit his particular reality, and he wants other people to agree with his Space Mountain bullshit. It drives me nuts. He doesn't care to know science beyond his fan fiction that he writes about his favorite aliens. He doesn't care to know anything about consensus or how we learn what truth is the moment it interferes with his God claim. It's so boring listening to these guys go on and on about that. That's why I attack them directly. I'm like, let's just get to the point, because you about to build up 45 pages of fan fiction for your God right now that is completely unnecessary. Let's just go to the meat of the motherfucker. But they don't want to do that. They want to do the white boy sensibilities of, it's my turn at the lectern, let me speak.
Right.
I didn't stop that guy over there when he was spouting bullshit, so just let me sit here and say mine, and then we can all maybe potentially do this again later. Like there's no goal other than, you said your bullshit, okay, I'm gonna say my bullshit. He doesn't want to know a thing. It's pathetic.
Yeah, and this is where so James made this point earlier, and you can notice sometimes as a streamer when your stream falls off a cliff, either the level of chat activity, the level of viewers, or both. And he kind of makes this point where, ironically, we're more engaged in sort of the blood sport conversations than we are when everybody's getting along. And, we tend to get bored when everybody's getting along. Part of it is, to me, I'm with you, Wayne. It's not that I'm not upset that everybody's getting along. I'm bored and irritated because we're not challenging the elephant in the room. And I showed up to a stream where I know both these people showed up to disagree with each other. This is the Cowboys and the Giants. And y'all are sitting here admiring one another's playbook instead of, trying to outscore each other before the clock is over. And I'm glad everybody wants to get along, but I'm like, take each other out for beer on your own time. Because it does seem like at some level, people are happier. I got this feeling. To be honest, it's largely why I started the channel. Was like I got sick of feeling like I was watching counter apologists who just didn't care anymore. It was just like, oh, we're all in the club now. As long as we stay civil, let's just all sit around, smoke cigars. We all have different metaphysics. And then at the end of the day, we'll shake hands and congratulate each other for being willing to have the conversation. And then, like you said, we'll see you next time. And I'm just not with that, because I don't think it's honest.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
In a way, Richard Madden's kind of like a product of this non-denominational personal walk with Jesus. Take it, faith, however it means to you, sort, because they don't specify, right? Just in the service this morning, right? They didn't specify what they meant when they said that Jesus is the light of the world. They just said it. And it's supposed to mean whatever it means to the people there.
100%. 100%.
It's just like a bunch of poetic nonsense that just makes people feel good because they play it to.
Yeah, and then they don't. This is where we talked about this a little before, Lena, but I was saying that I was kind of wrong about something where I used to think that it was really good to let's just go ahead and scratch off the sermons that are about problematic social issues or anti-science or whatever. But I think that's not going to work because it creates what you're talking about to the point where the doctrine is nothing. They really have the same biases and bigotry, but now they don't talk about it. And so, it allows them all to buy into this sort of universal feel-good stuff.
And it's super obvious from the outside that they've just swept these issues under the rug. I mean, they mentioned the shooting, right? And it was a typical thought prayers. It was actually pretty funny. He said they were going to do a moment of silence, and he didn't even do that. So,
wow.
Yeah, just try. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they brought, and he didn't even say that many things. I mean, he was like a service, but.
Weirdly,
I know that they do a lot of events, and they're gonna ingratiate themselves in the community as they do.
Yeah, that's the real goal now, is to become an indelible part of people's lives. And I've participated in that myself, so I know how powerful it is. But yeah, I can definitely see where this type of internet culture we have is a result of that, because that's what we have now, where Christian to everybody we deal with just means whatever that particular one person wants it to mean. And then, it's kind of why a lot of times I don't take the religion of one Christians as seriously, because they haven't gone through, to me, the proofing of getting other Christians to even accept their view. And they wouldn't. There's no way they would. And I think they realize that, which is why they, are trying to effectively establish their ministries on YouTube, because real Christians aren't going to follow that shit.
Yeah, that's also part of the grift, Jay. Like, that's a part of the grift built into Christianity because they all agree with each other, and it's always the same God when we're against an atheist. You know what I mean? It's all the same God for every faith when we're against an atheist. But it's only the Christian God if we're talking against other other religions. And then inside of Christianity, none of them agree. There's over 4,500 denominations. Every single time they like to pretend and say this is what God is, or the book is clear on that, all you gotta do is just look back at all the other churches. The how many? The 23,000 churches in Alabama or whatever, 17,000 Louisiana. Like, that is just proof that your message is inconsistent. You know what I mean? So every time you try to come at a non-believer that asks you to clarify your God claim and you get mad about it, like you're not they're not self-reflecting, man. You know what I mean?
I agree. I just wanted to acknowledge Stupid Energy said there are creationists out there getting buku views that need responding. Yeah, and I'd like to respond to more of them. So please share some of these channels in our Discord with us under videos or stuff I should respond to. And I really appreciate the encouragement to do that. Before I roll more tape, Lena, did you want to get any more thoughts in here?
Oh, I was just going to mention, I took notes when I visited the church this morning.
Oh, yeah,
So if
yeah. If
anyone
you
wants
want to
see
share some of those?
They're in the Discord. Just check under the self promo tab.
Oh, Lena, that's fantastic, and that's the kind of cool ass shit I want to see happening in our Discord. Y'all know me; I keep complaining about the machines, but you know, one of the things that I think it having the machine issues has hurt is the Discord intensity, because it was harder to like put the streams in Discord at the same time and everything. But we're trying to get back to that. So thanks you guys for your help, and please do join the Discord because it's the offline hub of our community, and it's also kind of the bridge between YouTube and Gather, right? Like Gather is for the community that we get to know, and Discord is where we can get to know you off of YouTube. So thanks for putting that there. And yeah, I'll roll some tape, and let me know if you guys want to stop here.
You can't go the wrong way on the wrong path that's unshown to you and have success. So what's Jesus saying there is he's trying to explain what is success. That's what he's really saying. So it's just that he won't lie to you and he tells you the truth about heaven. But when does that happen? Well, it happens in end times. That's when he comes and says, hey, this is the deal I'm trying to tell you guys. Any normal person would just accept it. In fact, I think, James, you'd have an easier time than the Pope.
That could be.
Yeah, nobody knows what to say to this.
Anybody
It's
comes
just,
to me with any claim,
it's just so ridiculous.
I'll listen, and if it stands to reason,
I told him
then
he
I'll
has the
give
claim
it
of
weight
goat
that it
herders, and he
seems
got
to
really
carry.
upset by that.
And
he does.
We just kind of
Yeah.
go from there. So
There are people that sold
I'm open to that.
daughters for livestock.
So here I am living my
That's
life.
who your moral code is from.
And there's a bunch of people coming up to me. One person's Richard Madsen, another person is JG, another person's Peter W, another person's my mom or my grandma or whatever, right? Like, they've all got these different ideas about what the path is and how you should walk it. And I haven't heard a whole lot about the details of your views, so I can't comment specifically, but my experience so far has been that humanity's batting 0 for 500. Like, every time they pitch an idea to me, I'm like, it doesn't sound right. So now they could be right? They could be right. You pick any person, they could be like, we'll just call it 98% right or right enough. And I'm just not seeing it. And that for me is another problem. I'm like,
sure.
If they tell me what the correct path is, and it doesn't seem reasonable to me, it doesn't seem healthy, or it doesn't seem factually evidenced, or it doesn't seem logical to me, it might be ethical, it might be reasonable, it might be logical, it might be well supported by facts and logic, but my brain, the way that it happens to work, can't perceive that that's the case. It doesn't seem to be the case
And
to
I
me.
feel like if Richard Madsen was watching this, he would hit me with the whole stupid shit. Well, you haven't demonstrated anything illogical about it. Let me be clear. That shit don't make no sense, Richard Madsen's vision of heaven. And I would not want it. I wouldn't want it. No, I would not want to live in fucking Star Trek where humans were super resilient and we basically, aging was negligible and we never died. Like, I hate to say this, but some of y'all are just so selfish. Just get over it.
Their fanfics suck.
We don't need to be around forever, especially not your narrow ass. Look how uneducated. Richard Madsen, look at how little you've learned in your 60 years here. What makes you think we should give you 600? Right? Like, what the, like, no, like, people, look, you're gonna die. We all get the great equalizer, one human lifetime. Some it's miserably short, For some, it's inexplicably long. To some, it's overflowing with joy and pleasure. For others, it is miserable from the womb to the tomb. But it is one human life, and the way evolution works, if you want to stop being anti-science as fuck and actually accept what evolution means, it means we need new generations. We don't want to keep patching up the old model. We want new shit. Do y'all want to fix your TV from 1985 1,500 times so you can still be watching, your new HD 4K porn on your fucking floor model 1,500 pound fucking CRT or CTR TV, whatever the fuck they're called? No, of course not. Right? And I get that. Yes, we all want medical advances to reduce human suffering. Yes, I absolutely want to cure cancer and find a cure for AIDS and reduce human suffering. But I cannot stress enough, I don't want to live forever. I don't want none of y'all stankin' asses to live forever. It's just not the way life works. And I find it incredibly childish to not be able to wish beyond this. It's like this is why we can't cope with death, because we refuse to cope with death. Like, we can't start coping till we start at least trying to cope. And everybody's fucking vision of the future is like a remix of the same Christian bullshit we've been rejecting. So, Richard Madsen, all you have done is use the Bible to argue for some shit that is fundamentally not biblical, but isn't really an improval, because it's just taking what the Bible says and remixing it so now it's the naturalistic Star Trek version, where, again, we live forever and we never suffer and everything's great and we can just think it and be it and achieve it. Just no. Just no.
And that's the problem, because they can say something like, well, don't lean on your own understanding. But I'm like, my brain's all like God. Like, this is the one that
how are you supposed to lean on? Actually, it's talking about accepting teaching from another. That's what that's talking about. It's not don't think.
Yeah, Caterpillar.
A lot of Christians think it means don't think.
Yes, Caterpillar. This might be the comment of the day. I think Richard low-key wants to fool other silly folks into some kind of cult type situation. Where else is this going?
Yeah. Look at the beard. Of course.
Go ahead. Were you gonna say something else?
That just threw me off. I was gonna comment on some bullshit Richard just said, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna say more bullshit in 10 seconds.
All right.
So.
Also, let's see if we actually get some meat out of Peter W. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm officially declaring war on hermeneutics. 110%. I don't want to fucking hear anyone talk to me about interpretation. It's about what is directly on the page. These scribes that you always want to claim are fucking God-breathed, and they're saying exactly what God wants you to fucking say right on the page. Talk to me about what's on the page. Every time they start talking about, no, God meant this, or this is related to that, I don't want to fucking hear it at all. You don't have any faith in your faith if you have hermeneutics. That's my stance right now. 100%.
Yeah, I think that's important. I'm not into it, and I think what we see on the internet, if anything, it gives us real evidence of just how silly it is, right? Because you sat here and just heard Richard Madsen just say, "Oh, Jesus said I am the way, the truth, and the life." Well, no, he didn't mean I'm the way, the truth, and the life. See, no, he didn't. He meant, he meant this, and he gave us something where he meant literally something by Jesus said, right? I, way, truth, life, right? He literally gave us, right? He gave it, because his Jesus isn't Jesus. Nope, Jesus wasn't a real Jew who said that in the Middle East, right? Nope, it was really Space Jesus said that on a total nother planet, right? Said doesn't mean said, because in our version, Jesus means what he said. Like, he said some shit, he wrote it, and they said it, and he wrote it down. And Richard Madsen said is metaphorically said, right? What he really meant was so said don't mean said in Richard Madsen's version, right? And then literally way just now means the destination that you need to go, and the truth just means the path has to be illuminated or else you can't get. He literally redefined every single meaningful word in the entire fucking sentence. At this point,
Yep.
it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. So that is never going to be productive. And this is what I mean about why universities don't do this shit. And I'm sorry if you invested all of your scholarly effort into this dead end, but this is why universities don't want to fund this, because they don't want to throw millions of dollars down a toilet by producing PhDs who sit around and argue the interpretation of text. So yes, biblical critics and historians and cultural studies people and linguistic experts, they all got real jobs. But these motherfuckers sitting around doing theology and hermeneutics, there's a reason major state universities are not hiring these people, and that they have to go to Bible colleges with statements of faith. There's
statements of faith. Yes. I haven't heard that term in a while. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You're saying missing here is that oh gosh, I just missed.
All right. Well, if it comes back, just please let me know and I'll pause it.
Doesn't. It just means take lessons.
I think where you might want to go is you want to challenge your presuppositions. You want to challenge your starting point, because you claim, if it's reasonable, rational, but you want to be able to know that you're functioning correctly in that respect. So you want to trace that back as far as you can.
So yeah,
hey guys.
Hey.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette, but if you want to kick me or whatever, that's cool. I'll find you again some other time.
No, I don't
coming back.
I think James wants to talk to you some more.
I'll be back in 7, James. You got time? It's okay.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay. All right.
Is Peter? Yeah, let's hear from Peter.
Hey, James.
Hey, Peter. So I guess I can't completely trace back all of my, one idea leads to the next, leads to the next. I don't think I could completely account for all of them, because I don't think my long-term memory correct or did a fantastic...
it's not a long-term issue. It's a philosophical issue of tracing back your starting point. Like, what are your presuppositions? What do you presuppose without justification?
How do you ground your ultimate truth?
That question. I mean, if somebody
it's the same
wants to
bullshit.
Yes.
Process, they can.
What do you put your faith in? I don't have faith. What do you put your faith in?
Well, hold on. It's key though, because if you're
speaking right now, if you're speaking, you're presupposing God's logic,
some sort of event, and someone's saying, if you really want to get it right, you got to trace it back to your very fundamentals. But most people don't want to do that. It's a lot of work.
Because there's no reason.
This is what I know so far, so I want to go with this.
And then they give themselves they fart, and then they smell it, and then they tell them, oh man, that fart smelled so good, because it's like, again, they always miss the obvious interpretation. Most people don't want to do this. Most people don't want to do this. Most people, because it's a fucking waste of time, bro. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Most people don't wake up in the morning and question their fundamental reality. They think it's much more practical to take a fucking shower, take a fucking shit, brush their fucking teeth, get dressed, drive their narrow ass to work, make some fucking money, come home, eat some dinner, jerk off, watch the football game, go to sleep, and do it all over again tomorrow. It's a much better use of their time than arguing, is north truly north? Is 15 minutes really 15 minutes? Does my boss have an objective or subjective basis to determine that I'm late before they fire me? Like, the world doesn't work that way. And he can't just fucking acknowledge that. Instead, he's got to be like, well, and this means I'm a fucking genius for sitting here wanting to tell everybody, we got to bring it back to your ultimate reality. We got to bring it back to your ultimate reality. We got to bring it back to your ultimate foundation. No, we don't. We really don't. Deeper thinking is fun, Jay. Yeah. Yeah.
Deeper thinking is so much fun. Like it's just so cowardly, bro. Like you can't even
Just all
consider
the time.
that you're wrong. You can't even consider the fact that maybe there isn't your particular God claim among the tens of thousands and countless other ones that have
Yes.
existed in history isn't the right one. You can't even presuppose that. You're a coward.
Yes.
You're a coward.
Also, I got to be honest with you, gang. I had me one of the baddest women I ever had the other night, bro. And I'm gonna be honest with you. It's gonna sound a little targeted, Wayne, but it let's just say it scratched the Japanese itch I've been wanting to scratch for a long time in a very beautiful, beautiful way. Right? And last night I had me one of the most amazing redheads. It was like one of my exes, but better. You know, everybody want like that time when it's like your ex, but better. Yeah. You see, here's the difference though. When you know that the thing is, see both of these experiences I'm talking about. Yeah, I didn't really have shit going on in my bed other than me stroking the good old pole of doom. Okay, splooging all over myself. Now, it's fine that I had these wonderful women, right? But it's also important that I recognize the difference between me making love to myself and actually making love to them. See, there's a difference between fornication and masturbation. And that's the problem with these guys. Yes, they think really hard, and thinking really hard is fun, but they ain't hitting nothing. They just stroking themselves off all the goddamn time. And it's cool, but the rest of us really don't have to watch this part of it. You know, and it's the other analogy it makes me think of is like working out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're straining your muscles or doing something that feels physically difficult does not mean you're getting what we would call good exercise.
Not at all.
Yeah, you're more than likely just wasting your time or very likely to injure yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference here too. It's like just because you're straining your brain, you're thinking really hard, you're reading a lot, you're listening to somebody with PhD in their title, doesn't mean you're learning or growing or developing intellectually. A lot of times it's you're using deep thought as a form of masturbation, just adult entertainment at this point, because kids don't want to watch this shit, not because it's X-rated, but,
right.
But it's literally just adult entertainment.
Watch these four guys in a dark room talk about real fucked up shit and get off on each other over it. Like, sure, man.
Yeah.
I guess if that's what you want, I'm trying over here to actually have conversations and like discern things. I want to know what's true on a certain level. And if you're just not interested in that, that's cool, but like don't come here spewing fake math facts and talking about metaphysics or whatever. You know what I mean? Just be honest up front. Just be like, I'm on some bullshit. I can't prove this. Just say I can't prove this.
Yes. And the thing is that's the problem I have with it. Like, if you want to do it, fine. If you want to congratulate each other, fine. But it's like Uncle Bobby and I said earlier. He really, I think, you know, we had a great stream about, you know, the battered believer syndrome. And he gave those two really tangible ways to deal with it. The first is you lay your cards on the table. In other words, you call that shit out. And the second is you stop validating the abuser, right? Like, you know, Becky, you can't come around here talking about well, Jim's such a great soccer coach and he lays it down so good and he's such a great provider and, you know, he's really involved in the church. Like, no, we don't want to hear none of that shit. Now, we done told you he's fucked up. You need to leave. You need to get some fucking help. Now, I can't force you to move out today, but your damn sure ain't gonna come around here singing his motherfucking praises, right? And so the problem I have with these guys is they don't want to just circle jerk all over their Christian channels. They literally want to come to our channels. Check this out, y'all. Because we're atheist channel. because we're former believers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're essentially trying to, and again, not everybody's here for the same reason, but in my estimation, this community is a form of group therapy, and it's primarily group therapy from religion. It's primarily people, former believers or, anti-theists, people who are trying to escape religion and the harm it did to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then these people come demanding our approval so they can defend our abuser. And I'm like, when Uncle Bobby and me had this conversation earlier, I was like, yes, and this is exactly what I'm trying to speak out against the shit going on in our community for this exact reason. They are trying to show up, and as the door-to-door salesman for the cult we're trying to escape, they want us now to tell them how great and wonderful they are for showing up and defending our abuser. Fuck out of here.
Fuck out of here.
And to me, it's just like, they're lucky that you have these conversations with James Apperson and Nidamos and the like, because you had a shit with me, Wayne, and Uncle Bobby, it's going to be a very different conversation.
How's that fucking thing?
Yeah. So that's what pisses me off about these guys.
I'm reasonable, I'm rational. You have like all these judgments on yourself of what you're capable of, but if you really want to know if you're truly rational and truly reasonable, like, you would have to trace that back to how did you get those concepts to begin with? What are they actually based on? What are the fundamentals of those claims? And you might find that you're going to go so far back and come up with nothing, and that's scary for people to go.
Hey, Jay, I think my understanding is that axioms can't be justified.
All right, hang on. We got to get to Peter because I got to shit on Peter. But first, this JG thing. He was just wrong about everything he just said.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to go back to your ultimate foundation for everything.
No.
It isn't irrational. Matter of fact, to be honest, I think what he's arguing is completely irrational. It's irrational to sit around questioning the metaphysical basis of reality all fucking day when you've got very limited time in a day to do real life shit, eat, sleep, fuck, and etc. So he's basically defining what is really rationalization. He's defining spending all of your time rationalizing shit and deconstructing your logic, because that process involves reflection on rational behavior and reflection on logic, to be therefore not only a rational use of your time, but irrational to not do otherwise. And it's like, bro, you are just way off base with what any of this means.
And he only wants to deconstruct your mind or your logic so that he can put a God in there. Because no matter what you fucking think, no matter how fucked up your brain is, if you believe in his God, he will let bygones be bygones, and he'll say, "Oh, you're on the path towards the right thing." He doesn't care.
Right, but he absolutely won't say this. And
right.
And I want to hear from Peter too, but it's interesting because James is always making this point where the people like Peter, they really, Peter's a person, he wants to be a bully, but he's not strong enough to bully anybody. So he only comes out when he thinks there's a bigger bully that he can hide behind. And so, he's in James's stream almost every day. And he won't really bring it. But now he gets on this panel where he thinks he can hide behind JG and Richard Madsen, and he sits there quiet as a peep until he thinks JG's provided a really great challenge to James, which of course he hadn't. And now all of a sudden, Peter's emboldened enough to speak up.
Scary for people to go.
Hey, Jay,
yeah.
I think My
He's waiting for his
understanding is
cousins to come
actions
around
can't be
for the
justified,
fight.
but presuppositions can be justified. For example,
Axioms can't be justified,
presupposing
but
God is
presuppositions
justified by the
can.
impossibility of the contrary. But anyway, I just want to put that in there because that's what was my understanding, that presuppositions can be justified. But that's my only comment.
And then look, what do you call them? Logic cucks. Peter W. just shows up just to say that presuppositions can be justified, which again, like, what a fucking cop out of any meaningful conversation. I get to be justified in my presuppositions. You nigga, you know that's the weakest shit ever.
And you can tell that they ain't never been in the classroom with this shit, because the moment that they started that, the instructor, the other students, the fucking janitor out in the hallway who catches classes, everybody's gonna be like, that's an unfalsifiable position. That's cool, but you're not going to write a paper like that. That's not going to work here.
It's not going to work here. Absolutely not going to work here. And then for example, the only example that matters, he can't even think of another example. Presupposing God is perfectly cool because of the impossibility of the contrary. Like, nigga, that's the weakest shit. Like, that's not even claim cosmetological argument, right? I mean,
I've told Madison directly, like, I openly shit on all of your assertions about that. Like, if you can't prove it, like, that can be asserted without evidence, can be dismissed without evidence. Go fuck yourself.
Exactly. The impossibility of the contrary. Peter W., stay on the bench, bro.
Right. No points, no assists, no rebounds, 8 turnovers, 5 fouls.
Yeah, man. It's better to just be a fan, my guy.
Well, you can have different levels, I think, of presuppositions. Like, you can presuppose logic in your daily activities, in your conversations, the way that you think.
Then what else?
There's a difference in those who can justify it and those who can't.
Right.
That doesn't matter.
And again, notice how he just gives it to Peter. He just sat here and told James, you got to question everything. You can't breathe without questioning your metaphysical. And then he goes to Peter, well, yeah, you could just presuppose logic.
These dudes are such cunts. Like, they're just terrible at this. And I mean that in the Queen's English.
Literally, fucking 3 minutes ago, James couldn't do anything without questioning the metaphysical. But now that another Christian has spoken, oh yeah, we could just presuppose our logic. Yeah, you're good to go. Now, see, the difference is those who can justify it and those who can't. Nigga, and you one of the people who can't. Now what the?
Right. No, but
here?
if you say that God's the reason for the season, then you get a free pass.
Oh my goodness.
That's literally what it is.
The difference is those who can justify it and those who can't. I wish an apologist would. Just unbelievable.
So the unjustified ones, I think, are axioms, I guess.
Well, the unjustified is going to come down
James
to
started cold, but he's too nice a guy.
Fact, but that's
James
just
is too
claim,
nice.
That's a claim of
He's
faith.
a nice dude. Let him be nice.
That's just an axiom.
He's way too nice.
But anyway.
We gotta toughen him up, man. We gotta take him out back.
Someone says something is self-evident and someone disagrees with it.
No, you know what it is, James? Sorry, Wayne. James is like Uncle Bobby. James is a real fighter. So James has and he's from Detroit, and I think, like, from what he described, he grew up looking to like say something, like looking for it. So now he's had to, coach himself, and he's trying to take care of himself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he's not going back to them streets.
He's not going back to them streets. Yeah, yeah. Me and you, we still a little rough around the edges.
I live on the street, bro. I'm sorry. I'm over here.
So it's like, okay, that's axiomatic. You say it is, but I don't agree with you, so we have a problem. Then you start appealing to agreements, popularity, and so forth, which is going to be a step outside of logic.
Stupid or Energy said that's a picture. The avatar that JG's using is a picture of Greg. Bonson, the
Oh,
founder
that
of
racist fuck.
presuppositional apologetics. I was gonna say he has a video with that guy on his channel. I didn't know who that guy was, but I could tell from the video he was sitting on some bullshit. But I didn't watch it. But that explains a lot. So yeah, James has found himself in a menage a trois here of precepts.
Facts. Like he literally he's trained at the feet of the head of presupposition, the motherfucker who figured out the perfect lane of like, how can I still be in the room with all of these motherfucking scholars but only study one book? Like,
Yes.
it's so fucking lame.
Yes. Absolutely.
He
Difficulties when
studied
you
at
really
the
want
feet.
to trace it back. So it's a
I
matter
agree
of
with-
willingness, James, you know?
Yeah, so I'm willing to go down any path that anybody wants to walk me down and look around it, not accept it on faith or whatever, but I'll walk
Well,
through
what
it
if-
with somebody.
Yeah. I guess that's the title of this show was what do you put your faith in? And that's kind of the idea. Is
Oh yeah,
what
here,
you're going
let's
to
get
find
to
when
it.
you walk back is that you do have faith.
Nope.
You can't operate without it. That's my contention.
Okay, now this is interesting because this is kind of good that we got here because this is essentially what JG was also trying to argue with James today, where he's basically trying to say, if you walk it back, if you really think about it, you have faith. And then he's going to basically insist on his presupposition that everybody has faith. And, James handles it nice because, again, he's not going to get, pinned down by JG, so he's not worried about it. But I'm ready to go upside this fool's head because, nigga, let me tell you I'm an atheist, and then you going to spend a whole conversation trying to convince me at the end of the day I have faith in something. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, I ain't trying to be nice about it no more.
Don't be nice to a
I ain't
precept.
trying, yeah.
None of them. Let me tell you, even the ones that mean well, don't be nice to them because they are being led by an abuser. All of them, every single last one of them. If you don't, it's okay for you to be like, okay, my God is real, my God is this, my God is that. I believe in my Lord, right?
Right.
But if you can't even bring to the table the concept of you being incorrect, you're an abuser. That's an abusive standpoint. Like, there's no reason to have a conversation with you. Like, straight up.
Yeah, and
Don't be
so
nice
that's
to 'em.
and that's the shutdown on the precept thing, right? And then this is just even a shutdown on our ability to even hear each other out because I'm going to tell you I'm an atheist. That means I don't have faith, and you're just going to sit here and tell me all about how I have faith, and
Exactly.
and it's just like
That's abuse.
like, bro, ooh. And this is the danger of the internet. It's the people like the Mike Tyson quote we love. Too many people got used to disrespecting people and not get punched in the face for it. This is where people like that thrive by definition, right? It's the safest distance to troll from that's ever existed, right? Like,
Fucking bitches.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. I punched my class clown in the face in high school, but I give him credit. He had to clown in person back then, and he was taking that risk when he clowned me. You see what I'm saying? And he knew he was taking that risk because I said it. But I give him credit for that. These trolls on the internet don't really want the smoke, right?
Right. These trolls are barely men, bro. Because as a grown man, I stand on every word I have ever said. You can come and fight me. You can come to me. You can come with the fucking the stenographer and all of that shit. Anything that I have said online or on a phone or in a text message, that's the same as me saying it to your fucking face. And if you don't act like that, if you can't like give me that same type of respect, you a fucking troll. You ain't a man in my eyes. Fuck off.
And like they can't even handle the basic, that's just basic adulting. Like they can't have a genuine conversation about you. They can't let you represent yourself. Like it's really petulant, childish behavior. So I don't know. It took me a minute. Like I never really, knew a JG before today, but it didn't take long for me to figure out what this fool's about.
And you've met him 1,000 times already.
Even when you say,
Seriously.
"Oh, well, I don't know why I do that," it's self-evident. It's a brute fact.
I think he's a
that can
Darth
be
Dawkins
pointed out
fanboy.
in that claim, in that very claim.
Yeah.
But
So, I mean,
what do you? Go ahead.
Are we using faith as a way of saying trust? Trust in perceptions?
Of course.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Because think about it, you can have your operating perceptions every day and say, oh, they're going to work 5 minutes from now, they're going to work tomorrow, the next day. You have no idea if that's true or not. In fact, you see people's facilities shut down.
Now, I'm not even going to do it, y'all, but what James just did is kind of clever because he just cut JG off at the pass. He already knew where he was going with this faith bullshit. But here's the thing. When Christians say this thing, and you hear this all the time, oh, faith just means confidence. Faith just means trust. All they're doing is they're going to Google the definition of faith or look it up in the dictionary, and there's 3 or 4 definitions for the word. We're all talking about definition number 1. They want to insist on using definition number 2 and 3 so that we agree that, sure, based on definition number 2 and 3, sure, we've got faith. And then they want to then proceed as though we've agreed on definition number 1. It's 100% the most obvious, disingenuous sleight of hand imaginable. Rookie shit. Just straight up rookie shit.
Everyone above 5th grade can see it, bro. Like, everyone. You know what I mean?
Straight up rookie shit. Yeah, bro. I have faith that my dog is in fact there, and if I put him in his crate tonight, when I wake up tomorrow morning, he will in fact still be in his crate, dead or alive. Like, come on, bro. Like, you know when you come to Atheist Channel, you know, and you start talking about what we put our faith in, and we say we don't have faith. You know what? So really, is that what it is? Do you really go to bed at night? Oh, checkmate atheist. Oh, I got James Apperson to admit that he has trust and confidence in things.
Bullshit, bro. It's like all these motherfuckers have the same amount of faith as us when it comes to a paycheck at work. Like, they ain't gonna pray to their God and stay around another 2 weeks if that check's not there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
Stupid
come
Energy
on,
said
bro.
it comes down to the childish. How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Which ironically is what Uncle Bobby's atheist friend did to eventually get him to deconvert. So we should start, but we don't do it back to them, which is kind of interesting, right? Like, a lot of these conversations, we don't flip it on them because we realize how antisocial they're being, so it feels bad. But we at some point, you know, if you could put them in the same vice, if you wanted.
Even more and more.
You know,
Go ahead.
there's 5 billion, almost 6 billion people on this planet that aren't Christians. Like, I'm completely done with having Christian friends that don't want to examine their own beliefs. Even if you want to be nice, I'm just over it. I have no. It's like seeing, you know, like if you go back to the block and you see friends who are like, oh shit, you the same as you were in high school. You know what I mean? There's been no change in you. Like, that's what it's like for me right now.
100%, yes. Or they say you don't know how poor you were till you go back to where you grew up or whatever, right? And you're going back to friends and family, and you're like, damn, but y'all still like y'all was when I grew up. Like,
right.
That was 30 fucking years ago. And you're the same?
There ain't a new book in here. You know what I mean?
Ain't a new book in here. And that's crazy. And you know, I remember when you were dealing with the recent loss in your family, and the conversation with you. That's what prompted me to have a conversation with my mother, because I realized I didn't want to bury her and be like, oh,
We have a powerful cumulative
we spent our
case.
whole life not having this conversation, and now it's too late because I heard the expression, somebody was saying it the other day, it was actually about politics, but they said they're just trying to ride out the clock.
Yeah, facts.
And that's what it's like. They're just trying to ride out the clock without challenging their beliefs. And you're just like, no, you mean to tell me you got to be grown as fuck, realizing all these different beliefs is going on in the world around you, and you never really wanted to question yours? We have to find like Uncle Bobby said about the abuse, we got to call it out and then not endorse it.
It's actually it's a real paradigm shift, bro. Like at the turn of the century, the last century, when public schools started to become a thing, there was a jump in knowledge, just in regular knowledge, not book knowledge, but like just how things in the world operates, where people were really not able to have conversations with their family that was uneducated, like legitimately 100%, because they would have to like I remember one of the big conversations was the tree of life, and they thought that every single bird back in the 1900s, the general consensus in general was that every single bird is its own type of bird and never the twain shall meet. And just try and imagine, like, you're the first person literally in your entire bloodline to go to a public school, and you got to try and explain like just the most basic thing about how these two things that fly are related to each other. And
Right.
this other person that's had an entire existence not contemplating that at all, like it's it's not just that it's a different thought, it's like destructive to their mind state, and it's like so weird. And I'm saying that to say this, that same thing happened in the 80s and in the 90s. It happened when everyone in public school was trying to get to college, and so we had to start writing papers, and we had to start fact checking and doing bibliographies. Most motherfuckers that don't go to school have never had to put together a bibliography outside of 10th grade. You know what I'm saying? But that's just commonplace. That's just how we work. That's just how you discern truth and get a grade. That's just, the verification process has been built into us and our education for like 40, 50 years. And now we're really hitting a riff with all these people who just are left behind. That's just it. You get to have your faith, but you're left behind. And it sucks.
This change is gonna happen, as Uncle Bobby was saying. I think you're 100% right, Wayne. And I feel that rift in my own family, my own life. And I feel like I finally realized it's not I've allowed myself to feel it. That's why y'all see me talk about it on stream. Wasn't recently. It was going back a few months. It was definitely during, this push we've had of all these streams. But I remember it was, probably around that time, right? Because we had been having them conversations about talking to family. And that's kind of what I realized, that it wasn't my fault that they failed to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to accept that if I've somehow lost interest in that relationship, then at some level, it does mean at some level they failed to do what it takes to maintain my interest. Like, I use my dad as an example because, he'll stream and stuff, but me and my dad have always had certain things in common, right? Mm-hmm. So we've always been able to just kick it, do whatever, because you could take, something like religion or something like that out of the picture and it's not gonna affect our relationship because our relationship's not built on that. And even now it's like he stays in my life because we love playing cards and I wanted to get back into playing Pinochle so I could play with him, you know what I'm saying? And, he's dog shit at technology and has fucking enablers around him all the time who I still can't stand me. He always has people doing shit for him, and that's why he can't figure shit out, right? But he'll get his little narrow ass and gather, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week because he's willing to bear that to get to me, right? And have some fun and play cards. And so it's like you realize you have to do what you need to do today to stay in each other's lives. You're not going to get credit for, 20, 30 years ago. And there's other relationships in my life where I'm just like, that hasn't happened, right?
Facts.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is uncomfortable, but it was important for me to stop blaming myself or stop feeling bad. If you don't want to call people,
mm-hmm.
they haven't provided you sufficient motivation to want to call them. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. But yeah, Super Energy is on fire with the comments. A powerful cumulative case is like a strong weak case. Yeah, it's really funny. Of course, they miss all the words. You know, if it's something like a powerful cumulative empirical case would be saying something. But the thing I always think of when William Lane Craig says we have a powerful cumulative case, I always think you do have a very powerful cumulative case. Here it is, y'all. 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. And you just keep going and you be like, damn, nigga, you still got nothing. You still got 0. You're right. You got a powerful cumulative case.
William Lane Craig broke me, bro, when he said that all of this, everything I had been studying behind him, behind all the apologists back when I was trying to be the best Christian possible. He broke me when he was like, yeah, I can't prove it. I was like, what? What do you mean none of this proves God? He's like, yeah, none of this actually can prove God. We can only postulate at best. And I was just like, all right, I'm done. Like, beginning of the end.
Also, like, the common designer argument, I don't even get me started on that shit. But
it's so racist, bro.
But it's also a concession that evolution's true.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, yeah, the evidence, yeah, all the evidence is true. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's just a common designer. You know, and it's like, oh, they just want it all. It's so selfish.
Now with all these mental disorders and so forth. So it's definitely faith-based.
Sure, I have trust in things. And,
definitely
it's always
just
my best efforts based
Man,
on
this
my
is so
ability
dry. I got to go into airplane mode real quick.
assess probabilities.
See, but when you say probabilities, it becomes arbitrary in many ways. Like you think, okay, I get in the car and go to the store.
No, it's not arbitrary. That's what probabilities mean. It's like we actually differentiate the how likely various things are. That's what probability means. That's how we determine how likely something is to be the case, how likely something is to happen. He just said something else that pissed me off too.
See, but when you say probabilities,
my best effort.
Definitely say probability.
Here's what it is. He did this earlier when he was talking to James about science, and he insisted that it was faith, and he insisted that it was a religion. There was something insidious about it, and it's something that I actually would expect James and other people to not speak to as directly as I would, because it bothered me particularly, because of my training in science. And that is, when you say certain types of things, so let's take this example of, him knowing that James or probably being aware that James and people like James are, coming from what we call a naturalist view or natural worldview. They're going to lean heavily on science and scientific consensus and stuff like that. Now, he wants to have a conversation and get James to concede that, there's some degree of faith involved in James's worldview, which y'all got to tell me like this. Y'all know, like, your bullshit meter goes up right away, right? Because this is a weird conversation to be having with the atheist. Let me insist on talking about how your atheist worldview is actually based on faith. Like, all right, this is already weird, right? So James kind of will go at him a little bit. Look, man, I ain't trying to sit here and have this philosophical circle jerk with you. So are you just talking about faith as like trust and confidence? Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, I trust in things. I got confidence and shit. Let's keep it moving, right? So that's cool. Like, that's what a reasonable person does. Again, he's trying to keep the conversation moving. All right, cool. I'll get down with that. But now what does he want to do? He now says, oh, so now we're going to something faith-based. No. Hang on, right? See that? Because that's not just being too broad or
I'd go
loosey
from
goosey.
Holy Spirit filled church to Holy Spirit filled church and get slathered with oil.
Yeah, it's not just being like loosey goosey with the rhetoric, right? It's using a particular strong phrase. I want to say like a weaponized phrase, a very strong phrase that is weaponized. It is sort of the language of identifying, who's the in group and who's the out group, who's one of us and who's the opposition. And so now he's not just getting James to admit that there's confidence and trust in his worldview, but now wanting to him basically to admit that his view is faith-based, right? Again, it's not just saying that there's trust and confidence in his worldview. It's using a phrase that is antithetical to what the atheist typically intends to convey and intends to mean, and he knows this, and so that's the bait and switch. That's where you see what it's like. That's the price you pay, y'all. That's the punishment. That's where he punishes you for trying to be a decent interlocutor. You give them an inch and they take a mile. You've heard that cliche before. That's a perfect example of it. He says faith. You try to go, okay, bro, I'll give you the inch. Yeah, I got trust and I got confidence in some things. And then he takes the mile. Boom. So your worldview's faith-based too. Fuck out of here.
Fuck out of here.
And when he did this shit earlier with James, like, it really bothered me because he basically said that about science. And I'm like, no, that when it comes to communicating the values of science, it's very important that we distinguish it from faith-based initiatives, that we distinguish it from a religion and all of this stuff. And he wanted to open that can of worms just because, James was speaking to, well, yes, we have uncertainty about certain things, but we still tend to, ride with the consensus of expert opinion. He wanted to take that and twist it into, oh, well, then you have faith in what is said from the authorities, and therefore this religion of scientism. And I'm like, nah, nigga,
The religion of scientism.
Yeah, like them fighting, because them fighting words. You know them fighting words if you're talking about science, because this is exactly what we're coming against as scientists. So again, you're giving him the inch, he's taking the mile, but then he's trying to use it to go to basically say like you're not arguing for your own position anymore. Like,
right.
It's just that's what really, makes me want to go upside a fool's head. That's what, sweet sin music, like super kicks all day. Like, it's just like, serious. Like, this one of them shits where they be like, Jay, you're supposed to pin the guy. This is a professional wrestling match. You're supposed to pin the guy. Like, you just beating his ass. You just beating his ass. You just beating his ass. You just forget. You just stomping him and stomping him and starting like, you gonna pin this motherfucker or not? Right? Like, reluctantly. We had a TV time. I guess I should go. We had, fuck.
It becomes arbitrary in many ways. Like, you think, okay, I get in the car and go to the store, and I've done that for 30 years, so I have faith that I'm going to get there. And then you try to attach a probability, but the future you can't really attach a probability. You're just going on past data. It doesn't mean you're not going to get into an accident. So the probability becomes somewhat arbitrary.
Oh, I don't know that I like the word arbitrary for that. I think that if we are fully reasonable, we have this awareness, and we're not always consciously thinking about the awareness, but it's always right there on the shelf to point to at any time. Like, it's in the back.
It's not always there, though.
Well, for me, I think it's always there.
It's not, though.
AJ, random question.
Think about it. You make irrational choices. You do stupid things. And
completely random. What's your favorite racetrack?
You said my favorite racetrack?
Real world racetrack.
So I grew up down the road from the Pocono 500. So
Okay.
Pocono Raceway. Yeah. Yeah.
That's real Americana right there. I respect that.
Yeah. I went to school with one of their kids, one of the people that owns it, the Mattiolis, that family.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's nice, very nice kid. Rich as shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I might pay them something and pass it to through you to them, just cause I love racing.
Yeah, it's it's weird because like my family wasn't super into it initially, but we had it on in the house a lot, and I played the NASCAR games growing up, and then living in the Poconos, that's such a huge part of the economy, and like that's the big sporting event we have, and that's the big because we're about an hour and a half from Philly, so we're not really like there's a lot of Philly fans, but we're not super close, right? It's a commute, and Pittsburgh's on the other side of the state. So the only thing big in the sports world that happens in the Poconos is the Pocono 500.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's dope. Appreciate it. I'm gonna look up some more on
the
that.
the tricky triangle. All three turns are different. Yeah, so that's what makes it interesting.
Always there, it's not always there.
Well, what I mean, as far as what's always there, is my awareness that I can't really be completely certain of anything.
Okay, but that came up earlier in the conversation too. You can be certain of things through the apophatic method.
I won't allow myself to be completely certain. How about that?
So if I ask James Apperson, are you the God of the Bible? What are you going to tell me?
I don't identify as such, no. And I think in order for me to build a case that I'm the God of the Bible, I would have to get really
are you the God of the
creative with
Bible?
semantics. If you want a yes or no answer, the answer is no.
Are you certain of that?
I am reasonably certain.
So you're not completely certain. You may be the God of the Bible.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Superdor energy.
Sure, it's possible.
So you think that's a reasonable claim?
No, I don't think it's a reasonable claim.
See how it's not working? Stay with me, because you just bounced from reason to unreason and you didn't really see it. So I ask you if you're the God of the Bible, and you say, "No, I'm pretty certain."
I have no evidence for God, so I have to destroy reason.
But you don't think it's reasonable to claim that you're the God of the Bible at all, do you?
Well, let me explain. There is a thing called pandeism, and I don't subscribe to it, but I find it fascinating, and it relates to this. It's the thing I thought about when you asked me the question. So there's this idea that there's just the one entity, this pre-existing entity, and that there is an irony to his existence or its existence, and that it's not limited at all. Because it's not limited, there's an ironic result of that it can't experience all possible scenarios, because it can only experience life through or within the context of being unlimited. And that ironically limits its ability to learn about itself, learn about life, consider all the possible variations of existence. And so then it creates these tangible echoes of itself, but they're finite. They're extensions of itself. These insects and animals and human beings and whatever else may be, and so infinite variation, infinite combinations, and so it learns about its own existence. It learns about the nature of existence through the eyes, through the experiences of these extensions of itself. Now, because this awareness only flows in one direction, the people it creates, the animals it creates, the insects, etc., they have no awareness of being an extension of this larger entity. But because it is fully sentient through them, it's gaining experiential knowledge through them. It identifies itself as this one larger structure, and all the people and animals and insects are an extension of itself. And so if we suppose that for a moment, and I happen to think that it's the most credible of all the God theories that I've heard. I just find it credible. I don't subscribe to it, but it's an interesting thought experiment, and I won't swear that it isn't true. I just don't think it's true. So if somebody asks me, am I the God of the Bible, within the context of a Christian paradigm, the answer is a simple no. I'm not even going to humor that. But if I kind of zoom out and say, well, Bibles exist, Bibles talk about a God, and that could be true even in a universe where the true God is the pandeistic God. If the true God is the pandeistic God, then we are all the God of the Bible experiencing itself, like the universe experiencing
Yeah,
itself.
and that means Kanye's right when he talks about he's a god. Which maybe that's why he doesn't like Jews, because they killed God. Who knows? But yeah, like the thing I have against all deism is, this is a great place for deism to die, right? With the JGs and Peter W's and Richard Madsons of the world, because it's the weirdo interpretations of beliefs that are so esoteric that who cares? Because nobody practices faith that way, right? Like so I always say, like, you're gonna have to point these pandeists out to me, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying I don't think I know any. You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk. I just don't think I know any, and I'm willing to bet most people probably don't know any. And then the other thing I always have, and this is all deism, which pandeism is kind of new for me, but pandeism, monodeism, whatever. but it's I always want to ask, where does this God come from? Where does this and let me ask a better question. Not where does your God come from? Really, what I say is, where does this idea of this God come from? Like, where did you get this idea of deism? And normally, what I find is most people who claim these deist arguments are either theists now or theists trying to hang on to something. So it's really a theist God that they're trying to hang on to. But otherwise, it's like some philosopher said so, right? Like it's still just an idea from a book, which makes me think that this pandeistic God, we don't know or have reason to believe that this pandeistic God is the source of everything, but we do have reason to believe that this is just another idea from a book. So that's always the issue for me. And I also think that the whole thing, if I'm gonna be honest, is a philosophical circle jerk to begin with, because a deistic God is not God to me.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't really elaborated this opinion before, but I just don't think that that's God. Like, and I'm biased in the sense that I grew up as a Christian, and certainly I have, an understanding of God as the biblical God. But I think when we talk about, the supernatural creator God, I just think a deist God is a different thing. Like Richard Carrier makes the point that if you want to be strict and say that gods are supernatural beings, then angels and demons are gods. And if that's the case, then Christianity is really like a polytheistic religion, right? Because there's many gods. Sure, right? But I don't think that angels and demons are God. Like, they're just not. Like, because when we talk about God and God the Father and God did this and God did that and Jesus died for God and Jesus, we're not talking about the angels and the demons. And if you don't know the difference, then like, I don't know what to tell you, but the angels and the demons are like not God. They're just not, right? And so when you go like, oh, there could be this sort of supernatural force that's always been that, is the ultimate source of the laws of nature, but that's it. And it's just not God anymore. Sure, it's like this force thing beyond, it's the force or whatever. It's this thing beyond our current explanation. Maybe it's even supernatural, but it's not it's not, again, like weirdo Richard Mattson, when we have these conversations, it's just not what we're talking about. Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's just like we're talking about something so qualitatively different that, at least what I mean when I say God, it's just like you're not even talking about that anymore.
Right. I want to talk about the guy that made the firmament. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then made man and all of that shit. So yeah, it's like a weird thing.
The pandeistic God, though.
Right. Sure. I agree that the writers.
So isn't
did
that
not present it
problematic
as
for the
such.
claim?
Well, here's the thing. This hypothetical, theoretical, pandeistic
Here's
God
the thing:
wouldn't
you don't
have-
want to say you're certain of something. I get it.
Sure.
Okay, well here's another. Here, let me
Priest
explain it
up,
for you then.
page 1, bro. It's
Are you
always the
certain
same.
that you're not the God of the Bible and simultaneously the God of the Bible?
Oh my goodness.
No, I don't feel contrary certainties. I don't feel any certainties, but certainly don't feel any contrary certainties.
And
So
do you consider that a rational worldview?
Okay, so agnosticism.
I don't think
y'all,
the Bible expresses.
Agnosticism is the idea that the question of the existence of God is meaningless because the word God has no coherent and unambiguous definition.
Right. It means whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
And we never agree exactly on what God is, because the moment we start to nail down a definition, they have no evidence, they have no proof, they have no anything. All they have is just bullshit thought experiments. Like, this guy is a precept. He keeps talking about how other people don't have rational worldviews, but he has to presuppose an imaginary best friend that endorses slavery. Like, that is so irrational. Like, but every time you call them out on it, it's just another word game.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's not even, the guy's not interesting at all. Like, I would say all this to JG's face. Like, you're not interesting. You're not cool. Nothing that comes out of your mouth is anything close to new. And I guess that's the point, because you're an old conservative, but whatever. Like,
Chat,
none
we're
of it's new.
letting you in on the real locker room talk, as Donald Trump would say, right? And in the word wrestling business, what we do is, like, JG, it was a one night stand. Look, we were in a small town. We, it's just, we had two banger fucking shows today. We needed a fun little late night house show.
And see, that's where I cut you off, Jay, because you talking to him, at the door, trying to edge him out of the locker room. I'm like, shut that fucking door. He only has 6 moves, and he used all 6 moves in 2 matches. Get the fuck out of here. Go
Yeah.
get something. Go get good.
Yeah, and we're trying to tell him, like, there's nothing here for us.
It's not here for us, man.
Nothing
We already,
here for us.
everybody already has 2 of our t-shirts.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah, we had to. You're here for us to show how bad you are, and then please don't show up anymore.
It's a rational worldview.
No, I mean your worldview, that you don't know that you're not the God of the Bible.
Right. That point.
Is
did
that a
come up.
rational worldview?
So here's
It's not. But hold on, James. If I ask you in the way,
Peter W., you think it's possible that James Apperson is the God of the Bible? Right, you see where this is going. Because if not, then shut the fuck up. Oh, Peter. See, y'all, Peter. I ain't seen
Maybe I
Peter
didn't
all
ask
day.
you
Peter
correctly.
know he about to get blocked.
Are you
on this
uncertain
channel.
if you're both
He coming
the God
off
of the
like a
Bible
henchman,
and not
bro.
the God
You
of the
gotta do
Bible
better than that, Peter.
simultaneously?
I
Is
have
that
more
something you're
faith in you
uncertain
than that.
And if so, why?
Peter know that band hammer is coming
It
down
seems
on
to
his
me
ass.
that it's a contradiction for someone
Okay.
to be one thing and exactly not that thing, and exactly
He has the
same way,
voice.
exactly the
He
same
could
time.
do the James Earl Jones.
So when we take it to the extreme of the God of the Bible and
or
the
the Morgan
contradiction,
Freeman.
you're still going to tell me, well, I can't be certain. I might be that contradiction and that God.
So here's it depends on there's all kinds. I want to cut through the semantics. I want to make sure that I'm not making any semantic-based mistakes when I answer your question or when I interpret your question. So what I'm saying is, it is conceivably possible that a super entity inspired or authored or had something.
You know what I just realized, y'all? James is better for poly than I am. Because This is why I suck at. I can't like. The thing that's weak about me and Polly is it's really me and other women, multiple women, because I'm incapable of considering the emotional needs or desires of another man. That's just a straight dude. Like I just don't. And the evidence is right here. Like imagine having to accommodate the way somebody else fucks, the way they stroke, the way they need what they want. And somehow this is how conversation number 1 went with James, and there was still a conversation number 2 that wasn't a complete bloodbath. And I'm like, yeah, James might literally have more tolerance for other human beings and other men than I do. I might not just be wired that way. Like at this point, you know, JG comes by my crib, it's like I got a sign for you, bro. You know what I mean? It says no trespassing, but it really means I wish a nigga would. Oh man, I'm just blowing out my ass, y'all. I'm with you, Wade. I can't stand these guys.
That it allowed
fake smart people
misrepresentation
really upset me, man.
of its nature or of its agenda or of its biography.
I can't.
Because it's not interfering with humans doing what they do, because all this randomness, all these different ideas.
Yeah,
that
James would not be a jealous guy.
Challenge each other is part of the larger experience of opportunities.
What if James is God and he's so nice he's allowing all these other God claims? You know what I mean?
And so it doesn't mind that when a Bible says something about quote unquote God that isn't really true to his biography or its biography, it doesn't mind that. It might have a sense of identity that sort of overlaps with God in Bibles, but still say the biography is not accurate, right? It somewhat identifies with that
So,
character.
James, are you saying that you're not certain if you are both the God and not God of the Bible?
Whose mic is that? I think it's Peter W's.
So here's the thing: within a Christian interpretation of Bibles,
here's the thing. That's funny to me because you keep saying that.
Well, we all have our linguistic
I mean,
quirks.
isn't it true that if you just simply rationally said, well, yeah, that doesn't make sense that I'm both the God of the Bible and not the God of the Bible, I'm certain of that. Like, it would get in the way of the theory that you're holding at the moment.
It's not rational.
My thought processes are more nuanced than what you're wanting to allow for because
they're not rational.
So you've
my thought processes are entirely rational.
You've thought this out before. You've been presented with such a question before.
And I dove a lot deeper than this about the question, sure.
I hope y'all have heard Peter W. before.
Oh, you've actually had this question presented to you?
No, I've considered it. It's all part of the larger idea of what is the self. And I've heard a lot of people argue that in some ways we are God, that we are an expression of God. Pandeism wasn't my idea. I simply heard about it.
So when you insert the illogical concept on top of it is when there becomes a problem. And you've thought about that as well.
What the fuck is he talking? Y'all, I can't. Pause the tape and the tape. Stop the tape. I can't. I just can't. Please tell me I've seen enough to know that we shouldn't be having any more conversations with JG. Oh my goodness. This is and the second conversation was literally more of the same, y'all. Wayne, you saw the conversation earlier today. Now look, I'm gonna tell you this. I listened to the second half or second portion that didn't basically overlap with the portion where you were there. Mm-hmm. Now, we both were talking about conversation that happened today, however long it's been, and I think it sounded exactly like this conversation. Do you think there's any difference? Could you have told that this was not the same fucking stream as the one they did today?
I couldn't tell. I had to look and make sure. It said 4 weeks ago, not 4 hours ago on the post. Yeah, on the post date.
So this must be like his stick. Like he just has this whole thing about at the end of the day, he gets to presuppose his faith because he also presupposes that everyone has faith.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's
then
so boring.
He really is. He really is.
He's out here talking because his wife doesn't want to listen to this bullshit anymore. If there's a wife, like she's done. Why I gotta listen to it?
Yeah, it's not good. And again, like there's a little bit to these circles, y'all, to where he's on a par with Richard Madsen and Peter W. Like there's a like you talked about this earlier, Wayne, this thing where they've all got to legitimize each other's nonsense. And so to me, there's a reason that the sort of the most deranged of the perspectives tend to congregate and mutually reinforce each other on their channels.
That's right. If you're kicking out bullshit, of course, that's what's going to happen.
So it's not surprising that Peter W. feels more comfortable speaking out here or on Richard Madsen's channel than he does on, my channel or James's channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's got a wrench on Richard Madsen's channel.
Peter.
Like all the trolls.
I guess. Go ahead, man. We see you. That's just all it is, bro. Like, we see you. We're having the stream and we're making fun of you because we see you. None of your tactics are cute anymore. It's the age of fact checking. You can go fuck yourself now. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
If he ain't bringing something interesting to the table, at least like a cool God claim or a new take, like just carry the fuck on, bro. Like, why are you wasting your breath? Go get a real hobby instead of talking for like hours and hours online. Go learn a craft. Go do something that honors your God. Go do anything else other than just continue to spew the same presuppositional bullshit that's always been there.
I know. and there's really nothing here for us too. Like he's not interesting. He's not entertaining.
Oh, bro. He doesn't have. We can't have the type of match where he gets in all his offense and then we win with a roll up or like just 2 quick moves at the end because it wouldn't last long, bro. It's not interesting. The crowd's like turning it off. They're going to go get hot dogs and shit, bro. And hot dogs and beer.
Yeah.
You are less interesting than hot dogs and beer, JG. I just want you to know that.
Yeah. It's over. It's over. Look, gang, we gotta call this. We gotta call this. And he fucked it up. I can't even do an offering song. We can't even raise a collection after this. That would be wrong.
Nah, play that Titanic flute shit for him.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, where's the yeah, there we go.
This one's for all the pre-subs out there.
Yeah, I just want to, let's get it.
Luggage cards.
Yeah, this is awful.
Right.
Just this is the flavor of JG's apologetics. Just fucking bad. You know what the sad part is, Wayne?
What's the sad part?
It took way more talent to play this recorder perfectly out of tune.
Right.
than this man's content. Like, we've somehow added so much value to his content by playing an off-key recorder.
That's really something to ponder. I just want you to know that, man. Such a trash bag.
Oh my
I
goodness.
bet he was sitting there with a fedora on, like, yeah, I got this shit. James Apperson, he don't know nothing.
I have faith. I have trust and confidence that I do not want to see more JG. Oh man. But look, y'all, here's the problem. Let's call it what it is. Our community's growing, it's dynamic, it's diverse, and we are, doing our thing out here. And so the truth is, they can't leave us alone, y'all. That's where they keep coming from, Otangelo and Brett Keane, and that's why Rebecca came back. Like, they really won't. They won't. Like, I really think that their new thing is the way they have kind of a war on trans and CRT. Like, they really are fighting a holy war against atheists on YouTube.
Oh yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
We're the enemy.
So they're like super motivated to like find our channels and then sort of sucker us into these dialogues. And in some sense, if we're not on guard against it, it can really tank our channels. Because, you know, like, I don't want to watch more JG. I wouldn't want to rewatch this stream. I'd need to figure out who this JG was, why James and I are talking about him, and then I'd be like, all right, I hope y'all don't talk about him no more. You know, so we gotta really limit our engagement, and I think once we figure out who a person is, we gotta kind of cut him off. That's why I'm not gonna be talking to a lot of people. I've told other people I'm probably not gonna be on panels, but if they want to talk to me, it has to be more of like a one-on-one appearance or interview type of thing. I'm gonna be blocking a lot of the trolls in the chat. Like, I'm just trying to keep shit moving along. And I think the harder we come out swinging against religion, you know, the more these trolls are gonna come running. So I think we just have to get used to cutting them off. And yeah. There's
nothing there.
Nothing.
See you
there.
later.
Yeah, exactly.
You sound like a phone book motherfucker. Like, he has no stage presence. He doesn't. I know he's talking to James online, but you're still online, man. Like, pretend like somebody else might want to watch this shit.
Yeah.
Be remotely interesting
Yeah.
instead of just asking endless "what about" questions. Like, it's so boring, bro. He sounds like doing taxes.
It
I'm
is.
done.
Yeah,
done with
and I hope he don't come around no more. I hope he doesn't. I hope he feels called out at least here. I added him in the title, so hopefully he knows I don't want to talk to him. Don't come through my shows. I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear this fucking bullshit. If somebody wants me to murder this guy, they need to set it up and pay us. Honestly, this type of motherfucker, you need some dough to get to interact with. You need a bag. You know, you need a real bag. And I hate to say it, ain't nobody out here putting bags out there like that to have these conversations. And again, like, I want to thank Lena for calling in and talking about Lena's experience with the church. That was actually pretty interesting. But I think that's way more relevant because you're dealing with a charismatic movement that is able to, you know, get itself caught up in people's lives. You know, I'm not worried about JG, Richard Madsen, or Peter W. Sparking a charismatic movement anytime soon. Like, not worried about it. You know?
Not at all.
When that becomes the cream of the crop for Christian cult leaders, I'll consider the Great Awakening done. Like, we good. They could keep whatever scraps is left at that point. They could have. Yeah, I ain't even gonna be fighting no more, y'all. We gonna have to switch this into a total sim racing fucking combat sports video game channel because, you know, I'm done. I'm retiring from counter apologetics when JG, Richard Madsen, and Peter W. are the cream of the crop. We're hanging it up.
You know, I don't even want to think about it because, like, they all have the same amount of evidence, so they are kind of the cream of the crop. They're the bottom of the barrel and the cream of the crop simultaneously.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, y'all. Look, I'm gonna call it. We're in Gather. I'll watch an episode of The Wire and get some sleep. So come link up with the gang and Gather. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens. Science bless you all. Poof.
Adios.
Zach? Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights, only been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the summer, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answer my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too boss. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. In the game throwing laws like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Carl. Thick game lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call.
It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll.